St Mary's Primary School in Shropshire. A lovely choral performance is taking place. Usually outside of a school assembly or a specially organised concert, only the teachers and the children themselves would get to enjoy this. A bit of a shame, really. But today the singing is being captured for posterity.
That little microphone will pick up your singing and it will record onto the hard drive. We're going to pull it on my school blog. Then you can pull it on your MP3 player if you want to.
And your mum and dad will be able to listen to it in the car or whenever they want to. Off you go.
Oh, when the saints go marching in.
The children are using digital audio software, which their teacher has downloaded free from the web.
When the saints go marching in. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance.
OK, do you want to stop it? And then we take the choir now, got their recording.
Yeah.
What do we need to do now, Bradley?
Well, we need to edit some of the sound.
This is just part of head teacher John Rowe's strategy of using free-to-use software to boost learning.
That's brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, roundabout.
In this programme, we'll be finding out about the range of computer programmes he has chosen. The children clean up the recording to make an audio file to be uploaded onto the school's blog site.
Oh, fantastic. Next job is to export it as an MP3.
OK, then.
Okay.
Software like this helps develop children's podcasting skills and provides digital media that children, friends and relatives can share outside of school. It's bringing the school choir to a wider audience.
I think it'll make them feel good about themselves and listen, we've got our song on, listen, do you want to hear? They can share it with their friends and maybe in the long run more people want to come to the choir as well and join in, so hopefully it'll make the choir grow as well.
It's got tremendous potential. Schools can make their own radio stations, have layers of sound to bring in sound effects for readings, really bring to life things like poetry, storytelling, so we're not having to necessarily rely on the printed word. For children with special needs, this is incredibly empowering. Previously, everything had to be written down, and if you couldn't write it down, then it was as if it wasn't valued. What we've been able to do now is to provide other outlets for children's creativity without necessarily them having to use a pen or a pencil all the time.
John Rowe's become evangelical about the way that free-to-use programmes can be used in primary schools. He wants to stimulate and challenge increasingly computer-savvy pupils in science, literacy and the creative arts.
As teachers, our job is to try and keep up with the children sometimes. We don't want to get to a situation where we end up children coming to school and feeling that they're having to power down. They're children who are exposed to a rich variety of media every day, not just through television but also through their own computers, the websites that they're on. What we want them to do is to harness that technology to be able to maximise opportunities for learning.
John found this software that allows children to build virtual 3D models with building bricks. It's a simple CAD programme that he's adopted to help teach literacy with Year 5s.
What we're going to do is we're going to make a set of instructions for a new model kit. So, how are instructions going to work? We need to...
So show them step by step what to do?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. We're going to show them the model being built so people know what to do as the model's being constructed.
The task involves building a virtual model in stages and taking screen grabs. Importing these into Microsoft Publisher, the children then have to design and write an instruction leaflet.
Get 2 pink Lego windows and place them on the sides as shown in the picture. I'm imagining myself opening a new box and just imagining what the leaflet would say.
Their imagination is boundless.
It's 10 Downing Street.
Complete with burly coppers at the front door.
So it's my first time going on it. Well, I've done the steps of how to make a shop. It's not really like a lesson. It's like you're just playing around, but you're kind of working it at the same time.
And I'm blown away with the results. They've been totally engaged, producing instructional writing in a way that they wouldn't necessarily have been if we'd have pitched an instructional writing lesson in another way. They've used the technology very effectively and when we've used that to motivate them and to engage them as learners.
The free software not only helps John's IT budget, but also helps deliver his vision of children and their parents taking ownership of their learning.
The advantages of it is not just to be able to say, oh, well, we're doing it for nothing, but the sense that we're able to say to children and their parents, you can do this too. You can do it tomorrow, or you can do it tonight. Download it from the websites and away you go.
One of the key outcomes of the software is the opportunity for children to share their work with others. One of the programs St Mary's are using gives this a global dimension. Scratch uses a very simple shape and text system to create computer games and videos. It was developed by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston, USA, to help teach the basics of computer programming to children.
I've got to help the dog get to the end of the maze so he can collect his prize. And it follows the mouse pointer. But if you touch the red, it goes back to the beginning and you have to start again.
The games can be uploaded onto the Scratch website for children all over the world to share and comment on. We linked up live on the web with MIT's Mitch Resnick.
Most programming languages don't come with a website bundled in, but we from the beginning knew we had to think about community. Very much in the spirit of Web 2.0, we want to make sure the kids, as they were creating things, they were doing it as part of a community where they could share their projects and learn from one another's projects.
John Rose using Scratch to encourage collaborations between year groups. Year 6 children design their games and call in reception pupils to test them.
Yeah, you did it again.
The older children use the younger ones as software development consultants.
So, what do you think we should do? Do you think we should have bigger packs? Smaller packs? Smaller packs. Right.
It's much more powerful than me giving them the suggestions that try to shirk my responsibility, but it's so much more powerful for those to come from the audience themselves and provide a real context for children's own learning.
Peer-to-peer feedback is something that St Mary's are exploiting both in and out of the classroom. Web 2 technology has led to schools developing their own blog sites, and John is passionate about exploiting these innovations to add value to the feedback that children receive.
The problem about classroom walls is it's very restricted to 2D work, whether it's pieces of writing or pictures. One of the things which the use of Web 2 technologies provides us with is being able to put things like animations and video on there.
Monkey Jam is another free-to-use program used at St Mary's. It's a stop-frame animation package that the children use to make short films using a cheap webcam. It's helping them develop storytelling and an awareness of narrative, as well as becoming budding movie directors.
There's these knights and they're walking down this hill and then this tissue comes over them and they've landed in another world, but I have to slow it down. I'm trying to plan the story, but we're changing. We like to change some of it. It's the story of a blue tech who wants to see what will happen if he falls off the top of a computer and then just goes splat.
Pupils can download Monkey Jam and work on their animation projects at home.
From a filmmaking point of view, this is really ambitious stuff being produced by a 10-year-old at home for fun. Kate T, who is an Australian teacher, that mentioned we want to make our own movies too, and we might do some clay animations and Lego with an ancient Egyptian theme. So it's not my work that's being used as the vehicle for good practice, but it's the children's work, and other teachers are looking at them thinking, hey, I could do that in the classroom.
To minimise any risks, John makes sure that all the children are aware of and fully understand the school's blogging safety guidelines.
It's our second day at Amsterdam and it's the evening. It's really fun.
This mobile phone podcasting programme helped children communicate with their parents on a foreign school trip.
Hello, I'm Jess. We went to the Anne Frank Museum this morning. It was really good, lots of interesting things to see.
They used gabcast.com, and for the price of a local phone call, produced a regular podcast which was automatically uploaded to the internet and enabled parents to keep in touch with them whilst they were out in Amsterdam.
Hello, it's Chloe. Having a weird time? Hi. Hi, it's Lauren. I'm having a great time. See ya.
Going to Amsterdam for a week when it was 2 children's birthdays while we were out there, we had no homesickness at all. Through the blog, children were able to keep in touch regularly with home, and parents were able to keep regularly in contact with their child without that awful moment where they put the phone down on the parent and then they're alone in a foreign country.
The list of free-to-use software used at St Mary's grows all the time. History projects about Second World War air raid shelters designed with Google SketchUp have captured the children's imagination.
I'm making a World War II air raid shelter for a little instruction leaflet. I'm putting some bricks on it. It's literally like making your own building.
A programme called Fun has helped children grasp some difficult maths and physics concepts. The simulations help children gain insights into friction, gravity, elasticity and the properties of a liquid.
Why don't you move the ground on us? It's really funny and fun.
It's the way that gravity works and on the simulator.
The work done at St Mary's Primary has impressed Shropshire Council's ICT advisors. John Rowe's approach is seen as a great example to other heads in the county.
Some people might say maverick, some people might say groundbreaking. I think John's pushing the envelope a bit in that he is using software, finding out what it can do for him, what it can do for his learners, and taking that forward. Sometimes you'll find that schools and heads don't actually have the confidence to take on this software or this approach even, but if they just see what John's doing and how easily it can be done, then perhaps in a smaller way they can actually use open source or free software and just see where it takes them. It's not the software that's important, it's what you do with it. It's the learning opportunities that it gives and the learning objectives that it lets you attain.
Liberating learning right across the curriculum using digital technology at home and at school. This is at the heart of John Rowe's approach. He wants children to feel inspired and energised.
One of the most exciting things is when you know children have gone home and they've downloaded the software and had a go at it for themselves, and when they've said, I showed my mum and dad this, then you know that you've cracked it. They're not having to power down. In fact, they're choosing, rather than to go on the Game Boy or go on the PlayStation or what have you, to actually continue working outside school. Work doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to feel like hard work for it to be meaningful and valuable.